So, Karen Farbridge, former mayor, City of Guelph in Canada. Paolo Testa, director of Smart City Observatory of the Association of Italian Municipalities. Welcome you both.
Thank you.
Karen, so you served as a mayor for 11 years, isn't it? So, could you tell us a little bit on what did you do and how your city was trying to become, or it is, a smart city? Please.
Thank you. Thank you for this wonderful opportunity. As I was thinking about what I would introduce into the conversation this morning, I was reminded about how much optimism and inspiration that I get learning how other cities are becoming smart and addressing sustainability and improving quality of life for their communities, sometimes against incredible odds in achieving that. And so my city is no different. It's had its share of successes and innovative approaches, and still has lots of challenges and lots to learn and lots to integrate into our community to continue to address the issue of how do we remain sustainable and ensure the well-being of our community. Because I think we heard earlier in the first session, it's constantly changing. So there's never an end point that you can say you can get to. It's a constantly changing arena. My city is 130,000 people, just to give you a sense of that. I think small cities like that have an ability to test some things that are perhaps a little bit more challenging in a larger city, and then can be scaled up and replicated. And you saw the map that Jennifer provided showing the green belt. My city is just on the outside of the green belt, so that provides different challenges being on the other side of the green belt. To start, I think there are many reasons why we should be paying a lot of attention to cities. And you heard in the introductions about how quickly we're urbanizing as a planet. And by mid-century, more than 2/3 of people will be living in cities around the globe. I think it's the pace of change that is remarkable. So for a very young country like Canada, which was founded in 1867, we have, at that point, 20% of our population lived in cities. Today it's over 80%. That's a very significant change in a short period of time. And living, urbanism and living in an urban environment creates very different needs and aspirations. And so people live and work and play and socialize in very different ways. And so it needs different products and services and systems to be able to support that. And history has shown us that when a civilization dies, its cities die. And what the roots of that is that those cities have lived beyond the limits of their natural resources. And so the question is, will our cities get it right moving forward and tackle these issues? There's a couple of other reasons, though, I think, as well. We've seen with global transportation and the internet, we're removing geographic barriers for people to move around, and we're seeing that in our cities. And so people can choose where they live more than ever today. And so we're seeing cities being the engine of development and progress, the engines of the economy. Immigrants come to cities. My city is a gateway for new Canadians and newcomers to Canada. Entrepreneurs locate in city, growth and opportunity is in cities. And so place matters more than ever. Despite the globalization that's occurred, places matter more than ever. So great cities, great places. And then I have observed over the last 2 decades or so being in municipal politics, how much more cities are in competition with each other. For talent and for investment. My role as a city in the last few years was completely different than my role as a mayor, completely different than it was at the beginning. When countries compete against each other, it can get kind of ugly at times. But when cities compete, they raise the bar for everybody. Because what you do is you find better ways to invest in your infrastructure. You find different ways to support quality of life. And so it raises the bar for everybody. So we all gain when cities compete with one another. And I think cities are demonstrating that they're very agile in addressing social issues and global issues. They also share a lot, and this is a great example of that. We learn from each other. And there isn't a single success we've had in my city that hasn't been informed by other cities, whether it's in Canada or around the world as well. And then the final comment why I think cities are very important today is the transition to the digital era is actually pushing things local. It's replacing old paradigms of isolation with independence, scarcity with abundance, collaboration is replacing control, sharing of information instead of hoarding. Those are really local community values that we've always lived. And so we're seeing an advantage with that. But also, as we move to more distributed ways of working and thinking, it is empowering local solutions to global issues. And you can see that in issues of food. We had the comment earlier about urban agriculture. You can see that in food. You can see that in energy. I know we'll hear some things around energy today as well. And so I'm seeing this incredible opportunity at the local level to tackle some of these issues. And so just a few comments about the evolution of thinking in my community around smart cities and the way that we've been discussing it. My community was very impacted by the Brundtland Commission in the late 1980s and the concept of sustainable development. And it was clear to us then that the scale of issues that we were dealing with were beyond one sector, beyond one jurisdiction. And so we began experimenting with roundtables at that time. And there was an established roundtable on the environment and the economy. And that really set the groundwork of developing relationships across sectors. So there was business people in the room, there was government in the room, there was academia in the room. And it began to develop the relationships so that we could start to begin that process of integration of ideas and systems. The initial wave of that led to a lot of focus on how we used resources. And I'll give you one example. The thinking led to extensive work on how we used water. And so for the last 20 years, our city has completely decoupled, separated our water use from our population growth. So as our population has increased, our water use continues to go down. So we've been working to replicate that around how we use land, how we use energy. Those are the areas that we've been most successful. Transportation, no success there at all. It just, the faster the population grows, even faster the use of cars. So lots of challenges in that area. So that was the beginnings of our journey, those roundtables, and we've built on that to increase our community's ability to collaborate across sectors and integrating sustainability principles into what we do. And it became, for us, balancing economic opportunity and prosperity, social justice and well-being, environmental stewardship and sustainability, as well as culture and heritage. And I think that is in itself a disruptive idea, sustainability, is the integration that requires and the whole system thinking that we heard about earlier that we need. And very disruptive in terms of the existing systems that we have. Our practice has evolved and more recently to embrace what we call a collective impact approach. So it is pursuing a commitment of key actors across a community to a common agenda to solve specific challenges. And so that thinking has informed very recently what we call open government. And that's just a term that we're really using for our strategy to transition to a digital age. And there's 4 pillars of that. And I think taking the comprehensive approach has been very worthwhile for us. So there is open data. Technology is part of it, but it's a tool. There's open engagement. So participate by nature. That is going to be, I think, one of the biggest challenge is it's not just about government changing. Our citizens have to change in their expectations and in their role in building communities. A third pillar is open governance, and so really looking about how we govern as a local government, and then access to information is the 4th pillar. And so I'll just give 2 examples to close, if that's okay. In 2002, we invited the community to co-produce a set of sustainability principles that would guide our growth of the city. And so at that time, we engaged over 1,000 people in that. So for a city of our size, that's a significant number of people, especially because it wasn't about fighting something. It was about forward thinking about our community. And so we used a number of techniques to engage people in that. No technology at all. We didn't have the technological platforms then. It was about going out to people, engaging them in place. And so now those principles have been integrated into our growth and development strategies. And so they inform our decision making today. And then last year, as part of our open government strategy, we established a civic innovation lab. And so what that does is it actually invites people into City Hall, into the silo, and starts to break down the silo from the inside out. And it's really a throwback to the roundtables of the 1990s. It's bringing together people from various sectors and people who have direct frontline experience with particular issues in the community, and provides a space for people to work together to identify solutions. Not necessarily for the government to do, the local government to do. There may be some learnings, but really what do we do as a community? Where's the shared responsibility to make change? It may be the best place to make that change. It's got nothing to do with the local government. It's got to do with the private sector, or it's got to do with the community benefits sector. And we may just get out of the way, or we may help to enable that. So I'll leave it at that and look forward to the conversation. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Karen. Thank you very much indeed. That's